For many people, it seems so far away. They say, no, it's never touched me. Unfortunately, it's not the case. You will never understand why your company is destroyed, why something happened around you, and you never understand. It looks very weird how it could even happen. But because your data is stolen, it gives full roadmap how you can be attacked, how people who are important for you are affected. So please care about your data, and let's fix protection of both Americans and Europeans as soon as possible. We can do it.
What is going on, everybody? Frank here, joined today by an extremely special guest, Lyudmyla Kozlovska, president of the Open Dialogue Foundation. She advocates ferociously for the right of everyday people to use all sorts of freedom tech, from things like Bitcoin to open source AI and private chat communications, all of which we'll touch on today in this conversation. I've known Lyudmyla for a few years now. I think she was one of the first guests I ever had on. We've gotten to know each other. I remain in complete awe of the amount of work she gets done. Her voice, though it's become more pronounced, and we saw her at the center of a lot of what was happening around chat control about a month ago, and we're going to start with that here, about what was happening with kind of regulation that was kind of sneaked through the European Parliament, a vote that happened right before summer vacation happened. We'll talk about that today, but Lyudmyla, it's a pleasure to have you back here. Like I said, I admire what you do, I appreciate what you do, and I hopefully want to kind of let people listening today know just how much you do and maybe ways that they could support what you're doing as well. So please, if you don't mind, introduce yourself a bit.
Thank you, Frank, for all of these warm words. And I want to first of all address to our viewers that everything what I'm going to say depends and actually affects all of us. You, me, your friends, your family members. So it's really important to be active in defense of your privacy online. And I'm saying it as a human rights defender, as a victim of transnational repression, which means that different kind of legal instruments, financial tools, your travel data, communication data, everything can be weaponized. When I say it, it means that I lived it and I was able to overcome. And my purpose as a human rights defender who is running Open Dialogue Foundation for already 17 years and defending like number of political prisoners, hundreds of political prisoners in many countries, but also people who are politically prosecuted abroad, transnationally, this is what we call it. I'm saying that it's really important to pay attention to what's happening in different parliaments right now. We have all tools to overcome a different kind of transnational repression. We're capable to make these changes, but only if we really pay attention and we just don't think that, oh, somebody's going to fix it for me. No, we have to participate jointly on it. And then we're going to fix it. Just like somebody hundreds of years ago fought for freedom of speech and we can still enjoy it, but we can lose it. The same, we have to defend our rights online. Quite soon, access to internet can be just through digital ID. It's not something science fiction. It's actually reality. It's already happening in many countries. And we are a small minority in this world where still we can enjoy our rights. And so this podcast, what I'm really grateful for you, Frank, that you give me floor. I really want to gather people who understand this value. I don't want you just to listen. I want you to participate in this process. Maybe it sounds too ambitious, but it's your rights. If you don't fight for them, you're going to lose them.
I appreciate all that, and I think it's really important. And yeah, it's something to keep in mind. When you hear someone like Lyudmyla talk, you kind of think like, oh, well, she's working on it, so everything needs to be fine. But Lyudmyla can't do this work alone. She needs your support on whatever levels you might be able to give it. So please, as you're listening, maybe pay particular attention to anything that she says that resonates with you. And if that's a place in which you can support in whatever capacity you're able to support, please consider doing so, because I think what's happening right now so let's dive in. Let's start with chat control.
Sure.
So about a month ago, and I wanted to do this conversation earlier, but Lyudmyla worked so hard while this chat control fight was going on that she was actually sick for a while afterwards. So we had to give her some time to recuperate, but I'm grateful that she's better and that she has the time to speak about this today. But let's start with the high-level overview. So last month, chat control was adopted by the European Parliament. Let's start with this. So this is chat control 1.0, if I'm not mistaken. Can you explain to us what this is and what happened within the European Parliament?
So it's basically something what used to be already applied to European Union when all social media like Messenger, or for example, Messenger in Meta or Facebook, Instagram, social media like X or any others, they basically were checking all our messages if we have any kind of child sensitive material there, and they were proactively reporting it to special services, law enforcement, and this generated enormous amount of false positives and of course different kind of enormous amount of files which law enforcement is not even able to process, and that's why law enforcement not was happy with this kind of proposal. And cybersecurity experts, which I will just remind, over 800 of most known cybersecurity experts signed different kind of letters to warn that child control 1 or child control 2 not effective at all. It's actually beneficial to one specific lobbyist company which produce the specific software, and nobody else is going to benefit from it. So this chat control 1, which is not affecting your Signal or your WhatsApp, but it's affecting all messages, direct messages between social media networks. And of course, it's also affecting your emails and everything what you store on cloud with Google, for example. So from this perspective, it's very important to know about it, first of all, and then I have to say that I'm not happy about it, because I know how much false positives and how much access to this data can be weaponized by authoritarian regimes or malicious actors. And victims, as of now, even members of the parliament confirm it by themselves, there is no remedies how to protect ourselves. And this is the reason why so many members of the parliament were on our side. And unfortunately, President of European Parliament played very negative role in re-establishing this chat control 1, because I remind that in March this year, European Parliament with absolute majority refused this very useless and in fact benefiting to one lobbyist company proposal.
Proposal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Proposal.
So where we right now? We right now in a situation where EPP, European biggest party, which actually controls both European Commission but also other bodies, and it has majority in European Parliament. They used urgent procedure, which allowed them, in fact, when we had majority of present members in the Parliament who voted against chat control, they were not enough to be a constituency majority to refuse completely this proposal. And this is how, with this emergency procedure, this chat control 1 was adopted. Still, we now, as a human rights group, but also with many other experts, trying to understand how we can establish accountability for this obvious abuse of power from the side of EPP. And from other side, accumulate as much as possible, forces for September, when the main fight for privacy and access to internet and in general defense of your digital privacy will begin.
Yeah.
Why? Because we have simultaneously multiple processes in European Union, but not only in European Union, because the same law right now replicated with the protection against age verification and so on in US. It's not just what's affecting Europe. It's spreading quite fast in UK, or I don't speak about even Australia, but it's also reaching US. And it's so important to see this negative impact it can bring to our societies. And it's so important to be vocal now. So if you are in US, you still can explain who are these lobbyists and why it's beneficial to them specifically. You can encourage your friends in Europe or in different countries, France, Germany, Spain, wherever, to be active to defend your rights. So be very careful, and also see who from your constituency, what kind of Congress people promote the same kind of drafts, because it's very dangerous. It seems like might never be there, but better to make sure it's never there and it's not spreading to US. So what we have in September, we're gonna have discussion about chat control 2. Chat control 2 is even more dangerous because it's affecting every single photo on your mobile phone. It's affecting every single chat in your Signal, iMessages, WhatsApp. Also, I think WhatsApp anyway is controlled
Yeah,
even long before.
There's a back
but
door.
just people
Yeah.
you still using it. I mean, I'm also using it, but I understand that it's like you almost write it publicly.
Right.
But still, you don't want to be forcing this kind of privacy messenger like Signal or others to be forced to send and to monitor your messengers, private messengers. So this is the last step, and I think it will be very beneficial for China, for Russia, for Iran, for anybody who wants to undermine any kind of democratic standards or competitiveness, any kind of progress of Western civilization. This chat control tool will be just gift for them, because in fact you have capacity to control minds and get information from entire at least 480 million of people living in European Union, and then through this anybody who is communicating with US, anybody who is communicating with any other country, they're also going to be affected, because it works both sides, right? It's never stops just one side.
Yep.
So it's very dangerous. And this is something that we really have to accumulate, and we have to bring youth. So if you're a young person, you use your messenger, you have to be on our side, you have to be vocal, and you have to say your position. Do you agree that it's effective at all to defend your rights as a young person with this kind of legislation? If you're a parent, do you want as a parent to be so much with the care of the state to lead you what your child has to do? Or you actually capable to be parent and decide what your child is gonna have or not? Because you buying at the end of the day phone, giving access, paying everything, child cannot do it. So I think this child protection, it just absolutely protects the same like in many other cases, and this is something that has to be articulated by parents.
Agreed.
Quite vocally.
Could I want to touch on that point there just real quick, because what comes to mind is I think
Sure.
of my sisters and their children, and I'm looking at maybe my 12-year-old niece using something, and my sister says, oh, no, don't worry, like I've put certain controls on it.
Exactly.
So the reason I say that is because parents can opt to put whatever controls that they want.
It is
on the
already in
phone.
place.
It's
Exactly.
already in place. I just want to clarify that for people who maybe don't have children or don't understand this. It's not as if children can just be given unbridled access to the internet. Parents can make decisions on what sorts of filters to put on these devices for their children. So please continue. I just wanted to make sure people understand.
And of course, we have to give more real tools for police. It's not the mean to have access for civilians, for all citizens, just because, right? It's actually for them to be able to process specific criminal cases and to put these criminals, pedophiles in prison and keep them there effectively. Because if they don't have this capacity and pedophile is not ending up isolated, his or she depends who is criminal. They come back on the streets, they come back online, they come back everywhere, right? Yeah. So effective tools for law enforcement and for judicial system to be able to process it, not to generate false positives for them, not to generate for them enormous amount of work, which makes no sense, and they not have time for real criminals. This is something what I think our society also has to articulate clearly to legislators. Legislators who say in the final words and whom we have still the biggest power, because again, in European Parliament we had majority. It's unfortunate, very unfortunate moment. I mean, it was deliberately done that they knew that members of the Parliament will be not present there. But our role is to, in September, to knock the door of every single our legislator and ask him, okay, what are we going to do now? How are we going to stop this chat control 1 and how are we going to stop this chat control 2? Because you were not present. We really has to make this point quite clear. So position of constituency is sound in this very, very problematic privacy situation and attack on our privacy rights.
Yeah, agreed.
And then remember that we have at the same time, starting from September to December, every member of the European Union government, they have to produce or agree for so-called digital wallet which will have your digital ID. And we know now that these digital wallets with age verification were hacked so many times. It shows so much vulnerability that it's so dangerous to keep concentrated data of everything of single European resident or citizen or entity in one place. It's just dream of Iran, North Korea, Russia, China to hack it. You don't need to collect it anymore. You just go to one place, you hack it, and that's it. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. And this is something what we have to be vocal. For some kind of extent in UK, people were vocal about it, and they I don't believe that they block it for a long time. They will have to repeat it multiple times. But at least this shows that it's possible, and we have to do it also in the EU. We have to be quite vocal on this.
Appreciate that. There's just one thing, if we could rewind for just a quick moment. Could you just describe for people that maybe weren't as familiar with what happened with Chat Control 1, how it got pushed through Parliament, again, the day before most of the members of the European Parliament went on vacation? Could you just give us a quick timeline of how everything played out? Because it seemed, based on who you were retweeting and what you were sharing on Twitter and through social media, that you were right at the epicenter of all this. So can you tell us a little bit about how this all happened and what it was like to be in the middle of it?
It was honestly been shocking for me, because for me, still European Parliament is a place where you defend human rights, where you actually can abolish bad laws and so on. And unfortunately, I have to say that right now we see trends where even European Parliament became a place with a lot of so-called emergency procedures, mainly initiated by the biggest party, EPP. And this is exactly what happened with Chat Control. When EPP leadership brought back Chat Control 1 from death, where in March, European Parliament basically said, no, we don't want it, and we reflect the desire of EU citizens.
Right.
And they used quite a rare urgent procedure. And it was just very procedural. So you don't have ability to change much. You just need to reject, or you have to agree with what Council, another body of European power, basically governments, propose. And we had 314 members who were voted to reject Council's position, right? And majority members said no, but it was not enough. As I said already, it's not enough amount of members of the parliament to be absolute majority to reject it. So in fact, everybody present, we can say, voted no. Result was it adopted, just because not enough members were there. And that's why I'm saying that if you want to make this change, you have to contact as a constituency to your member of the parliament. You have to check vote lists, or even not checking. You just ask what you have done to defend my right for privacy. I'm against Chat Control 1. I don't want even to have Chat Control 2. Tell me what you as a member of the parliament have done for this. And then you will know if this person actually was in the room or not. I advise everybody who is watching this, really motivate people to ask this question to members of the parliament, so they really understand that constituency care about privacy.
Yeah.
It's really important. And then, of course, hold accountable President of European Parliament, because it's unacceptable that she, as a leader of this body, which said clearly no, she used this procedure to please Council. So it's basically a play of one political group. It's extremely embarrassing. It's embarrassing for this procedure, because it means if there is another power, it's going to abuse the same way Parliament. Parliament is losing its representation to constituency. It means that it loses the trust of very people who elected them. This is the main institution we at least somehow trust. Because whenever is crazy proposal coming from European Commission and Council, this is the only place where you can block it.
Yep.
And when somebody just using political connections to undermine the entire process, it's undermine democracy, the very basis how a society operate and trust to each other, right? So it's a very dangerous thing. And a member of European Parliament who was negotiator on this file, Markéta Grigorova from Czech Republic, she called unprecedented. And she specifically accused EPP in abusing its position as the largest political group to bring back proposal that Parliament has already rejected. Mm-hmm. So this is where we are, and this is a very dangerous gap, and this is what we have to discuss and demand as accountability step.
Appreciate that. So the other thing that I wanted to note is that this isn't really, from what I've read, this is not really like a right or a left issue. It wasn't like the left trying to get something across, because there was a lot of opposition across the aisle from what I read. So from the political right to the political left, from cybersecurity experts to human rights defenders or advocates like yourself, there were a lot of people pushing back. So as things gear up for September, is the European Parliament aware of sort of the fight, the kind of wall of voices that it's going to be up against once it tries to implement chat control 2? And do you think that's a good thing? I mean, obviously it's good in a democracy that representatives are speaking up and represent the will of the people, but on a certain level, do you think they're also preparing to sort of make their arguments for why this thing has to be rammed through one way or another?
Of course they're preparing, of course, because if you look into what's happening on X and any kind of other social media, they every day posting the same messages that they protecting children. They bring the same voices of NGO who is justifying this policy. But for some reason, they escape any dialogue and any bringing independent voices who oppose it. And this is, for me, red flag. And this is what means that voices of all of these experts, 800 cybersecurity experts and researchers who signed 2 open letters warning how this technology actually produces unacceptable high amount of errors. They have to be vocal again. And if you know this kind of experts, please say them that their voice was important, but it has to be repeated even more vocal right now. So any kind of events happening in Europe, outside of Europe, any kind of meeting happening, any kind of publication in social media, this is all instruments we can use to bring our voices again to be heard. And remember to tag, to mention, to invite, to meet with members of the parliament and saying, I'm your constituency, I want you to fix it. Because the parliament may know, but everybody expects that with the summer vacation, everybody will forget about the issue. Mm-hmm. And this is why it was done just before vacation season, right? Always all of these sneaky laws, proposals done during vacation period or just before vacation, because the 2 months of European vacations is a brilliant time when you forget about something, right? And then in September, you're so busy, children to school, you have work and everything, you just have no time, right? Everybody's so busy. So this is a moment when your rights are the most vulnerable. And this is a moment where you have just secure fraction of your time to make this effort. Send email, but not just ChatGPT email, right? You just make it a little bit human and say, I'm this and this, I want you to fix this. Yep. I want you to fix my privacy and vote against chat control. I want you to investigate what happened actually before vacation season. So these kind of small steps, it's important. If you're ready to invest your time more, we need to do actually surveys. We need to find survey companies who will help us to do independent survey and show how actually young people and parents satisfied with existing tools and what they think about chat control. Do they actually support it at all? I'm pretty sure that majority of people have no clue, but if they understand how it's going to damage their cybersecurity, security, human rights, they will think twice. Yep. And they will say what they think about it, but just majority have no clue about it. So we need to go out of this bubble. We need to speak with universities. We need to speak with schools even. And we need to speak with parents of these children. It means like huge category of people, and we can only do if people who care about privacy go out of their bubble and speak up about it, encourage people to be more sensitive for this issue.
Yeah, 100%. Can I want one thing I really want to do, because it's one thing to give a call to action, but as a former teacher, I know that oftentimes people need very specific instructions. So is there any websites or very specific things that people can do? I know you mentioned have conversations or post on social media, send a letter, but is there a way to check out, is there a place where you can go and see a form letter, like what an example of this sort of letter should look like? Any other places you should direct people to go to right now if they're looking to take action or educate themselves about what they can do?
So there are two options. If you kind of lazy enough, but you still want to do something, okay, we're busy now, right? You just go, there is amazing chat control EU website, which gather all list of members from all countries and gives you exactly draft you need to address. And there is the latest updates. So this website is, I think, in this specific issue is bright example what we have, like accumulation of knowledge and instructions what has to be done.
Okay.
But if you want to do a little bit more sophisticated, reach out to me on X, on any kind of social media, Nostr, even Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And I will get you to our group where we have volunteers and where we do more sophisticated things. If you have ability to speak personally with members of parliament, which is more effective. We need faces of defenders of privacy.
Yep.
Because members of the parliament, they're human and they want to feel that work they're doing is actually useful. Because imagine what stress they have. They're going to be re-elected and what EPP party will say, oh, you're defending pedophiles. And he will say, no, I'm defending constituency right for privacy. Mm-hmm. And I have this and this and this person from my village, from my city, from my small, I don't know, town, whatever, who said me, who met with me. And so he said his story, why it's for him important. So be this person. This is very specific and I'm happy to prepare you. I will happy to, give arguments. But we need this kind of people, especially young people, parents, like it's pretty much everybody who just want to contribute time and to live in free society.
Yep, 100%. I will leave in the show notes a link to both. I'll leave links to Lyudmyla's social media, but also to that Chat Control EU website.
And if you're totally busy and you don't want to do not the first, not the second, just support us financially, we also need this. This is also important contribution.
Yeah, the Open Dialogue Foundation.
Exactly.
Lyudmyla is the president of. There will be a link to that in the show notes as well. Very, very important to support. I believe you could do so via BTC Pay server as well as traditional financial methods.
Hopefully it was again repaired.
I think it's working. Yeah, I
yes,
this
it's
morning.
working. Yes.
Yeah, that's a whole different story, which we're going to get into in just a moment. I appreciate that. Thank you for the heads up on all of that. To other people, it was funny. What made me initially want to reach out to you, there was a post from Alex Gladstein saying, like, this is why we Nostr, and it was about, like internet restrictions and this and that. And your response was like, my friend, like there's no, like the Nostr thing. It's if you have to ID just to get into your phone or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, Nostr doesn't matter. There's no privacy there. And I'm not saying that Alex is a friend. And I'm not saying it's like, I think I knew what he was getting at. But the point here, if you're not catching on to everything that Lyudmyla is saying, your Signal, your Nostr, all these other freedom tech tools.
Everything's going to be through digital ID.
It's all under surveillance. So if that means something to you, please act. I have a feeling it does if you're listening to this podcast. So please act. One of those 3 or 4 options that Lyudmyla just mentioned. There's 2 other things that I wanted to touch on while we have you here, Lyudmyla. First, I want to touch on a little bit of this paper that you just published on transnational financial repression. I think you co-authored it with Jorge Gerasati. This was for the Hoover Institute, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly.
And I want to just dive into that a little bit because I think that it's related to chat control in a way. So it's a financial issue, but a lot of this is all really about where your information goes and then who it is shared with.
Exactly.
So can you share with people what transnational financial repression is, how you experienced it? That's initially what got you involved in doing this work that you do as a human rights defender, as an activist, and then maybe just a little bit of what you touch on in the paper.
Sure. Transnational financial repression, long definition, but in fact it means when dictators capable to cut you off from financial services, get your travel data, weaponize your communication data, everything around your digital data, when you have no clue about it. So nobody asks you, nobody protects your rights because it's emergency tools and states assume that they can trust to each other and share this data emergency. So because they assume that you might be criminal. So all of these assumptions and these emergency tools make Western citizens and entities extremely vulnerable against weaponization of malicious actors who want to destroy you just because you're competitors or for some other reasons, so you're a brilliant scientist, you're not just human defender. What I'm trying to say, the transnational financial repression, it's not only about activists anymore. It's unfortunately touch every single person. And this is what we specifically brought to Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, where US, Europe, Canada, UK and many other countries are part of it. So it's 57 member states part of this organization. And usually they decide how financial, cybersecurity, national security laws has to be spread in these countries. This time we brought to them saying, guys, the law you proposed actually heavily weaponized by some actually members of even your organization. And there is no remedies how to protect Western citizens and entities. And I was a victim of this kind of weaponization. What does it mean? My bank account was terminated. This is the reason why I used Bitcoin to overcome it. But in this development, what we see right now, even using your Bitcoin or any kind of privacy tool can be compromised if the very access to internet, this is precisely what you mentioned, gonna be through digital ID. If I would have no access to my internet connection privately, it means that every single move is going to be recorded. Mm-hmm. And not only recorded, at some point I can be just refused to enter internet. And this is something what we see right now, for example, in Central Asian countries. And Kazakhstan is a part of these conventions. And first this country was abusing my rights in Belgium, and try to get all my financial communication and travel data from all member states of European Union, but also from US, where I'm active and where my family members live and the organization operates. And luckily, because my case is so known in Belgium, this time Belgian courts and even prosecutor and police, they refused to comply with this criminal complaint which they fabricated against me and my organization. So just as a background, they were using, exactly to the point of our discussion, chat control, accusation against me that I harassed children online, how it was happened harassment, that I was recording testimonies of victims of torture and mass shooting in Kazakhstan back in January 2022 and earlier before, where was also political killing. So these victims testified with names of perpetrators. And these perpetrators, they said that they are fathers of minor children, and their children are crying watching these interviews. Of course, the children not only not able to watch anything, some of them less than 1 year old, they were not even able to understand the language we're talking to. But procedure work in a way that no matter how absurd accusation, if it's there, normally all my travel, communication, financial data, both from all member states of the EU and US, has to be given to them. And now imagine it's affecting, for example, someone who is less known than me, who has no protection in Belgium or any kind of European or US jurisdiction. This data is going to be shared immediately. So it's very dangerous, and it's affecting not only activists, it can affect anybody who can be targeted, who is potential interest in these authoritarian states. Pretty big category if we understand that any kind of AI expert, anybody who is involved in semiconductors or any kind of new technology, military technology, biological technology, like almost every single aspect of our life right now can be treated as a weapon, right? And it means that we have to understand this issue as national security, and this is what precisely was mentioned in the resolution of Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. And this is now created as a roadmap. To make this law binding and protecting our rights, we have to work on national levels. It means that we need to have partners in coalition of legislators understanding this issue in US. We need to have the same legislators understanding this issue in Europe. In Europe, we already work in European Parliament. We have majority here who understand this issue, and we're gonna develop even more deep this work in the coming months. But not in US yet. So if you're in US and you want to support our work on this regard and you want to protect Americans' data, both entities and individuals, please reach out. I'm happy to coordinate how we can make this happen. And with this paper, why we also published it in Hoover, because this is perfect institution who understand all political aspects. They understand the need to defend your freedom. It's never given. It's only when you fight for it, you actually can keep your freedom. It's constant investment, and once more investment and defense. Second, they understand this financial security, national security, cybersecurity issues. They bring in knowledge from every single angle. This is why I love Hoover. It's like brilliant people with brilliant souls. They are very kind in any kind of, just amazing community who allows you to grow, to build coalition. So it's really important. And then, of course, third, here input, that they have access both for students and they have access for journalists and have access for broad audience, even politicians who can read our messages. So from these three perspectives, it was very strategic for us, and we are very grateful for Hoover that they hosted this article and we capable to bring it to attention of so broad category of people. And of course, Stanford itself, it's a paradise for experts on encryption, quantum computer and everything, right? So they also need to understand that they are the risk. For many people, it seems so far away. It's never touched me. Unfortunately, it's not the case. You will never understand why your company is destroyed, why something happened around you, and you never understand. It looks very weird how it could even happen. But because your data is stolen, it gives full roadmap how you can be attacked, how people who are important for you are affected. So please care about your data, and let's fix protection of both Americans and Europeans as soon as possible. We can do it.
Appreciate that. One of the things that was important, and I want to bring it up just in case maybe some of this of what you're hearing today is new. I want to just talk quickly about the role that the institution called the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF, plays in all of this, because a lot of the work that you do is around engaging with representatives in civil society on a European Union level or on a state and federal level within the U.S. You've done a lot of engaging with policymakers and politicians. The FATF is a little bit of a different force here, and they're kind of the force behind a lot of AML, CFT, so anti-money laundering, anti-terrorist financing regulation. So they're not the ones, they're not implementing it technically, because they are not a government in and of themselves, but they are this sort of international organization that has a lot of influence over what happens within governments, especially.
They're not even an international organization. They're actually a combination of government who are gathering from time to time for informal gathering. They're not. Okay. This is like the most interesting thing, that if you try to hold accountable them as an organization, you cannot, because it doesn't exist as a body. So this is huge problem, because we want to put effort, and they deliberately, as a body or website, in fact, or gathering, saying that they don't care about human rights. It's not their actually even mandate to do so. But with long-term campaign we are doing, and we expose in specific cases. For example, we brought case of Barlek Mindagazi, mine case, and others cases, showing how American data can be weaponized by authoritarian regimes. It's not just some third country affected with financial repression, where Financial Action Task Force rules use as a repression tool, as an invisible prison, as actually digital prison. It's happening on Western territories. And these rules were created to protect Western civilization, first of all, in place, and then spread it as a standard for global security. We show that this trust-based approach is actually so much broken. It has to be reviewed. It has to be reevaluated. We have to have specific numbers, how many actually damages it's produced for businesses, for our competitiveness, for people's life, because a lot of people financially excluded, their businesses destroyed, knowledge stolen. It's national security thing. So we see police, the biggest police organization, Interpol, is also heavily abused based on these rules. Why? Because you cannot initiate red notice of Interpol, any kind of a notice in Interpol, if you don't have enough legal emergency tool ground to enforce this police cooperation. And more and more we see that authoritarian regimes started to use Financial Action Task Force rules and Interpol rules and many other national security tools and cooperations as the best tool which gives them free access to data and enormous amount of power to destroy any single person they want to destroy in Western countries, even politicians. In resolution of Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, Parliament Assembly, they mention members of the prime ministers of Western countries who were wanted by Russia. And Russia is capable to put, for example, diffusion notice of Interpol in a way that if it's a wanted person from Estonia, Estonian government will never see this request. So when official from Estonia will travel to third country, I don't know, let's say to Qatar or to any other country, to Africa, to Latin America, they can be potentially arrested. And you as a state actually excluded from this. So the tools which were created to, to have more flexibility to catch criminals doesn't work. And you need to say about it. You need to actually react and review these laws, because we live in the world where majority of the states are authoritarian, and they are majority in this police organization, and they perfectly know how they can weaponize it. So we as Western citizens should not pay our taxes. It's something funded by us is going to be weaponized against us. And we should hold accountable also Financial Action Task Force. No matter how they right now try to escape it, we need to ask our politicians, okay, what you have done, how much money is spent there actually, and why my tax money is going there, right? So I want to have real protection, not something what sounds on a protection on the paper, but undermines my rights. And more victims speak up, more evidences we have. But as a human rights organization, we have a huge dilemma that before we have any in place remedies, victims are afraid to speak up. It's just few victims who really able to do so, like myself, because I know how to actually move around, right? But majority of people, they really not ready. They already so much broken. Their family members are so much against of it. And I can understand it, because I also lived quite hard with my family, with everybody around this experience. So it's really important to make one step ahead and to prevent it. And that's why it's so important for everybody who listens to this podcast. Ask your politician what they have done to protect your right. Financial right, travel data, communication data. These are basics. And your access to internet. It has to be free, not free for payment, but free access as a protection of your privacy, basically private access to internet.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. Appreciate all that. Thank you, Lyudmyla. One thing that I wasn't planning to get into, but we were talking a little bit about it off camera, or on camera, but before we started recording, was what's currently happening with AI. You commented on what Claude just announced, which is that there's going to be a Claude watermark on whatever you put out. And then we're also seeing the fact that certain models, the frontier models from the United States, we're seeing the Bitcoin Red Team, which is Rob Hamilton and Kale, trying to do the best they can to audit tons of open source code right now, not being able to rely on the American frontier models to do this. Instead, having to rely on models like Kimi K3, which are Chinese open source, open weight models. We're at a new frontier with these, for lack of a better term, we're on a new frontier, or we're in a new place with these frontier models and what's happening. Curious to get your thoughts on it. We could start with the Claude watermarking, everything that you write. You were saying kind of how taken back you were at this, because this is obviously going to have a tremendous effect on intellectual property and the way that we put information out there and how credible that information will be. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, if you don't mind.
So first of all, I see the huge repetition of what we just discussed with financial law, cybersecurity law. That's and what's affected with our travel data, communication data. It's the same now with AI. And what is AI? We come to the point when a lot of huge massive of our information, personal information, our professional experience, our intelligence we build in AI, which we share with a company, service provider, is about to decide what is actually yours and what is not yours. And in fact, it just, in case of Claude, it just was said, everything is mine. No matter what you put inside, it's just mine. And in case of, and my point was to show how for human rights defenders it's going to work and how actually it's going to affect our rights. First, you cannot expect from AI that AI will produce something really useful for human rights defenders. We educate models. We ask models all the time, keep our style of writing, argumentation, because it's natural. Nobody trains in AI with human rights. So what we do, what we already contribute for everybody, right? And when we, as an activist, using it, we educate every single model, and we do it per purpose, Grok, every single, to give this knowledge of human rights values, which is explicitly lack of it, right? Otherwise, we would not have all of this discussion that AI has to be with different kind of limitations and so on. And now all of this knowledge, what we give, what we cannot, for obvious reason, take from AI, is marked as not our knowledge. It's just, in this case of with Claude, it's just Claude 1. We discuss and we use Claude, of course, or any other models, and unfortunately EU regulation demand this watermark. But in case of Claude, I think this is the most strict at the moment, how they use it. They, in fact, use it as an opportunity to steal all our intelligence, every single user. So not just watermark how it was asked by EU legislation, but they did it just like everything is ours, just by default. But if you are producing some fault information, it's yours. So it's kind of everything what we produce is ours, but if you're wrong and you use it somewhere, it's yours. You know, so it's very, it's a nice deal, no, very comfortable. So, and I see in this, besides this intellectual property thing and educating model, another thing that it allows for service provider, in this case, AI Claude, to which already unfortunately doing proactive sharing information if any kind of request from the government is coming. So whatever you use, it can be proactively shared with authoritarian regimes. And it's extremely sad. And I raise this issue with Claude. I'm waiting for their response, what they're going to say about it. They can give you a model which actually all the time decreasing capacity of your answer. What does it mean? If you pay for highest subscription, they will always give you less qualified answers and less advanced model by default, because you, for example, discuss reform of Interpol, which is I do. Or, for example, I work on sensitive issues with victims of torture and mass shooting, right? If I use their testimonies and I work on them on translation, I have to do like triple check of any kind of translation. Of course, I'm doing it because I don't have enough resources, right? And still it's better than nothing. But then again, this product is going to be marked that it's Claude, it's not my actually translation check, right? And formatting and everything. So it's huge problem of property rights in this moment. It's huge problem of security, because this watermark, if they are not used yet as a surveillance tool, it's an infrastructure for any kind of regime to know every single person whom I interviewed and how this document travel around, right? To whom it was sent and when it was sent. So this metadata deeply built in these tokens by Claude, it's very, very sensitive and very dangerous thing. This is what I also addressed with them, and what kind of measures they have for such client like myself. And I hope they will respond. So back to the point, it's extremely dangerous. And we see this when bad actors will want to weaponize Claude against us, we have almost no tools. While we want to be legitimate users, and again, laws created for good purposes were used, in fact, to limit our rights and capacity. And this is example where was Senate, but also European Parliament and many national parliaments has to address. In order for them to address it properly, not like European Parliament did it right now together with Commission, right? They need to have voices of constituency users. So again and again, whenever you want to protect yourself from chat control, protect your future with your access to intelligence and protect your rights to be actually owner of your intelligence. And this is something, again, this is more sophisticated. It's not yet created any website for this. So I would advise people to contact me so we can actually build the expert coalition and work on it. It's something I believe pretty urgent because this technology developing very, very fast, and it's part of our life, society, and we're going to live in this world of AI. It's better to set it correctly from the day one than wait until it's too late.
Okay. So oftentimes I think about Bitcoin when it comes to having conversations with people. Oftentimes we think there's some sort of malicious intent, but there's actually just a lack of education, a lack of sort of understanding about the benefits of this technology. Is it a similar thing with AI where some of this stuff is happening and it's so new? Oftentimes you're interfacing with people, politicians, policymakers who are a little bit older. Do they not even necessarily understand the issues that this is potentially causing right now? I'm just kind of thinking about
majority of them even not allowed now to use, for example, American AI.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Do you think that inevitably changes? So we've seen, as I mentioned earlier, the Bitcoin Red Team, the people who have been auditing the open source code of many different Bitcoin projects since the Cold Card hack or firmware vulnerability. A lot of them have run, like Rob Hamilton has of Anchorwatch. He's run up against this thing of the American model, saying no, we can't have you go do that.
Yes,
but
this is a classical example. This is classical example when law is applied against actually social need. Because what he does, he's protecting social need, social interest, national interest. Because this is American and many other citizens of Western countries, or just users of American technology, or let's say because Bitcoin was said that it's national technology of US, right? So there is no tools which nowadays from US AI you can use to defend it. But what we see and what we hear from security experts, cybersecurity experts, that actually the newest models they used against actually to hack the legitimate users of Bitcoin and their wallets. And this is something what has to be prevented. It's exactly thing we have to address.
Yeah, we don't want the bad guys having access to attack with it without the good guys having the access to protect with it. I'm not trying to create just such a binary. We just want everyday people to have the same power that the most, powerful or like the bad actors.
I would even go one step ahead and say, if we see that such people like Rob, who is, he had all possible verification and everything, right? And then he was degraded with his right and access.
That's right.
It's mean that people
let me explain that a little bit. So what Rob did is he did the whole KYC process for the frontier models. I think he was using OpenAI, and he went through everything. And then he said, this is what I'm doing with it. I'm doing these security audits. And OpenAI said, okay, well, we can't give you our top models. We'll just let you use these models. That's what Lyudmyla was referring to there.
Exactly. Thank you, Fran. So, and then we see that cybersecurity experts say specifically that models of OpenAI or Claude and other American, AI companies were used to hack these legitimate users of Bitcoin and wallets. It means that they should know how to evade these security flagships. Who can do it? If normal cybersecurity experts from US are not allowed to use it, it means that it's states. Which states right now have access to the cybersecurity cooperation, proactive sharing of information? This is precisely example. How many Bitcoin users lost? Over 5,000 of people, right?
No,
at least wallets.
Users, 2,000 Bitcoin, maybe 5,000 people, sure.
Yes. So it's example how these specific laws, which I was saying, transnational repression, can be targeted simple people. This is example because they used AI. Normal person have abstraction. You cannot. You're going to be degraded immediately in your rights. You will not have this supermodel. But states can do it. And the worst part that OpenAI, Claude, or any kind of these providers, they have to comply with international law. They have to. It means that they have to give this higher access to model to state requests. Which kind of state's request afterwards was abused? You don't know. And that's why it has to be stopped. And this is example when I say it's not only a problem of activists, it's not only a problem of me, it's a problem of every single person.
Yeah. If information can travel into the wrong hands, we all have the potential to become a victim of that information traveling.
And it's
into
not
the
only
wrong
already
hands.
information, it's AI models.
Yep.
It's not only about travel communication. This is what's happened with Cold Card, what happened with BTC servers and everything. It's use case of national security transfer of AI higher model to probably states, and we need to ask for investigation of this case.
Yep.
Who got access to these models? Because hacker groups nowadays doesn't exist separately from the states.
Yep.
Russia supports these hackers. Otherwise, it will be easy to identify them. North Korea is the same. It's state and it's against state. So it was attacked for mainly Americans because Cold Card was probably, I would say, mostly famous and spread in the US still, around Americans. It has to be investigated.
Yeah, 100%. Lyudmyla, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I just wanted to open the floor. If there's anything we didn't touch on or any final thoughts, anything else that's on your mind right now that you wanted to share, please,
I think we discussed everything. What I would say that care about your privacy.
Yeah.
It's so you might do all right in your protocol, but you have no idea how your rights can be weaponized if those authoritarian regimes can get access for your data. And what's happened with Cold Card, what's happened with me, what's happened with many donors of US who were donating for good causes and were prosecuted just because of weaponization of these laws, it all unites us in one thing. We have jointly defend our privacy online and in general our privacy. So fight for it. Be active as much as possible. Join us and support us.
I'm going to highlight that and just double click on it just to say, again, you're probably going to close this podcast and go walk away and do whatever. My suggestion is go into the show notes now, click on at least one of the links that I've shared that enables you to do something. Start there and then maybe go down the rabbit hole a bit. It's not a matter of everybody doing everything, but it is a matter of everybody doing a little something, especially to support the sort of lead that people like Lyudmyla have taken. Listening to a lot of these podcasts, I think oftentimes there's that psychological phenomenon where because there's a lot of people looking on, nobody does anything. But we have to realize that we all have to do something here because we're going to be responsible for defending our own rights. But the bigger thing too is that we have to shift the Overton window. We have to talk about privacy not as something taboo, but as something that's a normal part of the human experience. And without everyday people speaking
access to water, privacy, it's access to it. It's your real access to your life.
That's right.
It's just simple as it is. And what's happened with Cold Card again, with the abuse of AI, it's probably was states behind these hackers. Otherwise, you had not access to these systems.
Yeah, so we want to stop this. The only way to do it is to speak up and to work together. We're a fairly small group of people listening to podcasts like this, so it's even more important that we speak up and I think educate the quote-unquote normies in our life about why this is important because it will impact them eventually as well. So Lyudmyla, thank you for doing the work that you do. Thank you for educating people. Thank you for sharing these resources. Again, they will all be in the show notes, and I appreciate all you're doing. I hope to see you in person soon, and that's that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you everybody who was with us.
That's it.
Hope to see you soon.
Thank you,
touch.
everybody.
Bye.
We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.